Design Review Panel meeting for the November 13th, 2024 meeting. This meeting is now called to order, and I am the chair of the panel, Joseph Yusufero. We'll start with a roll call to account for the members of the panel present on the call. So when you hear your name, please say aye. So if you could come off of mute and say aye. Let me go down my list. Mr. Can.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Sala.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Sharma.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Ms. Sauce.
Aye.
Thank you. Do we have Mr. Kurjakar on?
Aye.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Walters? I don't hear Mr. Walters. And how about Mr. Fran Anderson, our residential reviewer? Is Mr. Anderson on? No, okay. Did I miss any panel members that I did not call? Great, thank you. So we do in fact have at least 3 panel members, so we have a quorum.
And Fran Anderson just joined us.
Oh, okay. Let me go back to the roll call and say, Mr. Fran Anderson, if you could say aye.
Aye.
Excellent, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry for being a little late.
No problem at all. Okay, so we'll move on to the review of today's agenda. So I'd like to ask Marta, have there been any changes to the tentative agenda as published and shown on the screen?
No changes, Joe. Thank you.
Okay, great. So at this point, we'll go ahead and review the minutes of the October 9th, 2024 meeting. So through an email on October 15th of 2024, the DRP members received draft minutes from the October 9th, 2024 meeting. My question is, has everyone had an opportunity to review the draft minutes? Hearing none, I'm going to make an assumption that everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes from October 9th, 2024 DRP meeting? Hearing none, my assumption is there's no corrections or additions. With that, who would like to make a motion to accept the minutes as circulated?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes as circulated.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Sala. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay,
No worries.
I think I heard Ms. Sauce as a second. All in favor, if you could come off of mute and say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, so the motion carries. Thank you very much. At this point, I'm going to read an opening statement as it relates to the design review panel. So if my fellow panel members could mute their microphones, this will take a few minutes or so, and then we'll get into the meat of the agenda. So my opening statement is this: Title 4, Subtitle 2, Part 1, Sections 32.4.203 and 204 establish the Design Review Panel, and we use the acronym DRP. The DRP was established to encourage design excellence and shall act in a consulting and advisory capacity to the agencies involved in the process for reviewing development plans. The objectives for the DRP's assessment include a spatial, visual, and functional relationship to the topographical characteristics, the natural and built features of the site, as well as the surrounding features of the site, visual and functional integration of streetscapes, pedestrian pathways, playgrounds, recreational amenities and parks. Streets and sidewalks are laid out in a safe and convenient manner, and parking is a positive design element. Building, parking garages, and other structures are spatially and visually integrated and suitable to their surroundings in proportion, massing, and type of materials and colors, signage and other elements of urban design. The plant materials are selected and cited to define the site, provide a theme, frame of view, enhance architecture and street character, improve microclimate, provide transition between dissimilar uses, screen objectionable views and uses, and reduce noise levels and glare. In carrying out its duties, the DRP utilizes the guidelines, plans, and architectural principles in the Comprehensive Manual of Development Policies and/or Master Plan, as well as other guidelines and regulations adopted into law. Certain areas of the county were designated by the County Council to require review by the DRP. The panel will provide a technical review of the proposed project. Issues relative to zoning, setback relief, environmental and stormwater management, and traffic regulations do not fall under the purview of the DRP and are regulated through the appropriate agencies responsible for those aspects of the development plan review process. The panel consists of 9 members. All are professionals with practical knowledge in the matters of design. For purposes of making recommendations on a particular project, 3 members shall constitute a quorum. The attendance and comments of each member shall be recorded in the minutes, which shall be an open record and available along with all documents submitted to the panel for inspection and copying by the public. There will be an opportunity for the community to offer comments and suggestions at the conclusion of the applicant's presentation. These comments will also be included in the written record of the meeting. When a speaker is called up to speak, please keep your comments focused on design perspectives within your allotted 2 minutes of time. And if you're speaking on behalf of a community group, you will be allowed 5 minutes. At the conclusion of the meeting, the Department of Planning will sum up the recommendations of the panel before a motion for a vote is suggested. Recent legislation has changed the panel's recommendations to be advisory on the hearing officer and the various county agencies, unless the hearing officer or agencies find the panel's actions constitute an abuse of its discretion or are unsupported by the documentation and evidence presented. Disposition of the plan will be determined as either approved with conditions, or additional review with a second meeting being required. Okay, thank you very much for allowing me to read the opening statement. We'll go ahead and review the agenda that's in front of you on the screen. There's 2 items. The first is 1303 Maywood Avenue in the RRL RAIA residential review area. And the second is 121 Back River Neck Road, the Giggle Box Learn and Play in the Essex Commercial Review, which is a resubmittal. So we'll go ahead and proceed to item number 1, again, 1303 Maywood Avenue, RRL RAIA residential review area. If the presenter would please introduce yourself, you will be allowed 15 minutes for your presentation, and the floor is yours. Just one piece of information, Marta will scroll through the slides, so if you want her to advance any slides, just go ahead and tell her that. And the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time out this evening. My name is Ben. I'm the managing member of Integral Property Group, LLC, the owner of 1303 Maywood Avenue. So this property was acquired as a single-family home that was built in 1890, and we recently demolished and razed the home in hopes of building a brand new single-family dwelling. So the proposed dwelling, based on our architect drawing, is roughly 3,800 square feet with a fully finished basement. The home will be a 6-bedroom, 6.5 bath on 3 separate levels. This will be a home with 2-car garage and a small deck off the rear dining door. And the proposed builder is JF Residential Builders, based in College Park, Maryland. And we anticipate this project to take anywhere from 12 to 15 months to complete upon permit approval. Marta, if you don't mind going over to the next slide. So as you see from the exterior elevation, single family home, it will sit on roughly a 0.3, I forget the exact acreage, but it's roughly about 0.3 or 0.4 acres, if I'm not mistaken. So based on the topography of the land, the rear lot slopes down to the left side and the right side. So we will have a exposed basement on the left side of the home facing, and also I want to say 60-70% of the rear, it will have a fully walkout basement. The garage will be on a slab, and the rest of the home will be on a full 9-foot high basement. The architectural features is something that Tanya can chime in on if you can, Tanya. Tanya? You're on mute. You're on mute, Tanya.
Um,
You're still on mute. Awesome. You're good.
is it working? No?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay. I can't see anything, so I don't know why I can't see whatever it is you're presenting. I just see a blank screen.
So this is Joseph Yusufera. So I see the colored architecture of Tanya on the screen.
Yeah, I don't
and
see anything.
I think others probably see that too.
Tanya, can you see page 3 of our presentation, the one that I
All I
emailed
see
over
are
a few
people's
weeks?
faces and then a blank screen.
If you look at the bottom there, or if you drag the separator between the people and the presentation on the bottom, that may allow you to see it. Or if you can look at page 3 of the compressed file that I sent over a few weeks ago for the presentation.
I don't know why I can't.
I'll email it over right now. Give me a second.
Okay. Yeah, I probably have it somewhere. Let's see. I'll just open up what you had emailed before.
Yep. So page 3, we're on page 3. It's showing the front elevation.
The ones I drew? I don't know what page.
No, the elevation renderings.
Okay, so those are the renderings?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the front
You see on
elevation?
page 3. Yep.
Okay, so they basically wanted a 2-car garage, you wanted a nice porch, you wanted sort of I'm gonna call it modern Victorian style with some various types of siding. And so that's what we're showing.
Okay. Marta, if you don't mind, can you move to the next page, please? So on the rear of the home, we wanted to introduce a lot of windows to allow for natural sunlight to come into every bedroom. There was the initial comment by Marta about symmetry of the windows. That is something we can explore based on the comment from the panel tonight. But I think Tanya made a comment in the past with the design that it's symmetrical based on the interior size of the rooms. Is that correct, Tanya?
Yes, for the sides, rear, that's correct. The window placement is more based on the interior functions, and the front, of course, you want to present a nice face. So there you have the more symmetrical look on the front.
Mr. Liu, your elevations are incorrectly identified. This is the side elevation, I believe. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, this is the left side.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Side.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
It's
thinking.
it's just labeled incorrectly on your drawings. So
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, that's the left side of the elevation where it's the walkout side that I mentioned earlier. So we will have 2 doors. One is on the left side of the home, and then we'll have another walkout going into the deck and possibly a patio door in the rear for the rear side. My apologies on this. So 1A, the picture that Marta is showing right now is actually the rear of the property. And as you can see, there's the garage door to the left that enters the rear yard, and then a walkout patio door from the basement. And you obviously see the chimney bump out, and then the windows, as Tanya mentioned, it's basically all based on the function of the interior of the home rather than exterior aesthetics. This is the view from Mr. John Sullivan's property. So if you're facing, I don't know what direction, but if you're facing the home from Maywood, this is the right side of the home. So again, you see the garage bump out, the rear of the property, and a few windows that's there. So well, I guess I'll go through the material selection down the road. So these are the architectural drawings. I think Tanya will be able to elaborate a little bit more on this.
Yes, we have, large single or double hung windows. Again, we're just trying to show some various types of siding, which you probably see better in those renderings you had. Again, the windows on the sides and rear are more a function of the inside in terms of their placement. But the front, of course, we want things to have a more, symmetrical feel. I guess if anybody has any questions, they can ask.
I think all questions are left for the end of the
Oh.
end of our presentation. So we'll kind of run through this, and then I think they'll present questions for all of us to answer.
I know you mentioned a deck in the back, Ben, but right now we're not showing one. I think.
Yeah, I think ultimately we'll determine what
Right.
size deck we can put
Sure.
back there. But
just-
as of today, no, we put it on the introduction that there will be a small deck. But I think as we go through the permitting process, and obviously depending on the size of the home and how it sits on the lot, we will determine if a walkout patio is more suitable for the property,
Right.
or if it's a deck at that point. So.
Right.
Tanya, are you able to see the screen, or you?
I
are
can
still-
go. I can't see the screen, but I can use the email that you gave me from before. So
Okay,
just tell
so
me
we're
which-
on page 9 right now. So I think this is the spot elevation of the property.
Okay.
I guess we can elaborate a little bit on
the
this.
section, you mean?
Yeah, the section. Yes.
Yeah. So that I guess the panel asked me to do a section just cutting through so you could see how on the lot the house sits, at least in one place, because the lot is very sloped from one side to the other. So on one side, as you can see near the garage, it's not as high as it is on the left side.
Awesome. I think this may be a duplicate of the well, no, never mind. I think we're on the interior design right now. So on the main level, we put a small office, entrance foyer, and a small main level bedroom with a full-size bath attached to it. We are going with a open concept kitchen, living, and dining, with a walkout patio door, no, a walkout deck, the option for a walkout deck, and a fireplace that sits off of the family room. Towards the right, the bump out behind the garage is the butler's pantry. Just due to storage space requested by my wife, we would like to add a nice size butler's pantry. And then the 2-car garage will enter directly into the mud room, which sits between the kitchen and the garage itself. On the second level, we currently have plans for 4 bedrooms and 4 complete bathrooms, along with a open loft for homework and sitting area. There will also be a laundry room that sits between 2 bedrooms. And again, there's a window in the laundry room just because of preference to allow tons of natural light into the home. In the basement right now, we currently have it set up as a single bedroom and a open play area with a small kitchenette for entertaining. There's also a game room and obviously the mechanical where all of the HVAC water heater will sit. There's also a side entrance and a rear entrance that we place here just to take full advantage of the walkout basement leveling for that purpose. So this is the site and zoning of the property. So as you can see, the green dot is actually where the old home on Maywood Avenue sat. So this property actually sits on 3 lots. As you can see, the vertical lot, the rectangular lot, is shared. Well, not really shared, but it's between Mr. John Sullivan Properties and mines. The one in the middle is kind of where most of the home will sit. And then the other side of this property, that's the entirely sloped down area where we will likely not disturb anything just due to the topography of the lot. And Mike will be able to share a little bit more on that shortly. I made a comment. Well, okay, so well, we have the landscape portion right now. Stuart, do you mind chiming in on this, on the landscape portion? Stuart?
There we go.
All right, awesome.
Hi. The site development plan that we produced here was recognizing, of course, where the footprint of the house was going to be placed based on setbacks and existing vegetation and topography. So between the grading plan that was offered and the existing vegetation, which has been had commented earlier, this bottom left corner or bottom right corner of the property is heavily wooded and heavily sloped. So that is remaining very protected in there. Our grading in effect was really getting the water to channel in a way that sloping away from the residents and acknowledging the current existing slopes of Maywood Avenue and neighboring properties. The next slide is more of our landscape development plan and hardscape. And I think one of the aspects that we wanted to address was the alignment of the driveway. I think currently it comes in at a rather acute angle into the property, and we straightened that up to be more of a right angle into the garage and parking bays inside the house to allow for a better in and out, if you will. To that end, if you see on the upper left corner, we have a slight little retaining wall there. That's acknowledging an existing little dry stack stone wall that's protecting that large elm tree there. So we made sure that we kept that in place and didn't disrupt that because we don't want to harm the root system under that elm. And so our tree protection and our landscaping is acknowledging the preservation of that tree for certain. You see down on the left, neighboring vegetation, the major vegetation of the hollies and the red buds. And then we began to introduce some additional evergreen screening between the backyards of each home by placing in some native evergreen trees, i.e. the American holly and the red cedar. And then following up with that, on the bottom portion there, we have some evergreen native viburnum shrubs, which get quite large and are helping to mitigate the view of the neighbor to the rear of this property. Up in the upper right corner again, we have addressed the landscaping across the front of the home with some native ornamental trees, red buds, and a lawn area that just kind of stretches and makes a nice framework to the wooded area beyond. And the next slide. I think here again, this was our tree mitigation plan. So here again, we're just acknowledging the trees that will be removed for the production of the house and the grading of the site. There's also a cross section of the wall there. If you could zoom in on that, Marta, on the upper right corner of the document. Yes, this is a retaining wall that in response to the civil engineering drawing, we have had formulated so we can see that there's a pretty substantial drop where we're retaining the grade up against the house at that 334.4 level, and then acknowledging the grade off to the right at the 329.2 elevation. So it's a pretty substantial wall. It will vary in height as it progresses from the front of the home to the back, where the grade drops off most significantly. But will require a guardrail on top of that. I'm speaking about the wall right there onto the right of the house, and that angles back toward the back of the house at the walkout. Okay.
So the next following, or Marta, if you don't mind, can you move forward? So I did not realize that Stewart included the drawings for that retaining wall. So we got another retaining wall drawing. And I think it pretty much meets all of Stewart's comments. But this is what the following, I want to say 15 pages for measurements of the proposed retaining wall. But based on the panel's decision, we can determine which method of building we can use on that retaining wall. No, actually, no, it's not that much. Never mind. Yeah, it's just additional details, and it's a separate drawing. So I did not know Stewart did that. I wasn't sure if that was enough to meet it. So Marta, if you continue. So I think this is the site plan from, can't really see. Yeah, Mike, is this your site plan? Yeah, that's Mike's site plan. Mike,
Yes,
do you
it
mind
is.
chiming in on this one, please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. I think what you will see first off on the site plan is you will see that there's some topography on this site that's pretty significant in the rear of the property, in the rear of the proposed house at least. So the positioning of the house itself, as Stuart mentioned, is based on a few items, one being the setback lines, requirements based on the zoning. And also, it really just kind of positions itself, the house does, because of the topography, to try and make good use of the better topography, if you will. So you try to stay out of the steep side as much as you can. And therefore, that's where the retaining wall comes into play, to try and hold off some of that topography to create a reasonable grade for the placement of the house, the positioning of the house, and the grading around it. And also, as you're aware, we have several things that we have to consider. One is the stormwater management. So, we use dry wells in this case, and the dry wells are placed in areas where there's less topography because of the requirements for stormwater management. Other than that, in the front, we have a new expanded driveway, which is basically an expanded driveway based on the existing asphalt parking area. And of course, the other important aspect of the site plan is the connection of the utilities to the mains in the street for water, sewer, gas, and electric. And basically grading the site to conform to the requirements of the house design in terms of the elevations, the access to the inside, to the entrance to the site, using the porch, and placement of steps and retaining walls again in the front of the house to accommodate that. And that's basically the gist of the site plan.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike.
Well,
Marta, if you don't mind, can you scroll forward, please? Thank you. So this is a copy of the survey that was completed by Dietz, I believe. Yeah, I forget the survey, but I forgot who completed it. But it was Dietz. Okay, all right. We switched surveyors in between just due to issues. So, Marta, if you don't mind forwarding after we review the survey, I think that's additional site plan information. It's probably a duplicate, but I think it's what Mike just went over. So.
Yeah, I think that just basically showed some sediment control features and details and specifications and things like that.
Okay, so that's your sediment control plans.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So what we're currently looking at right now is material selection. So as you see, we do have Rosetta stones for the areas that's underneath the horizontal sidings in the front of the home. I think Marta's going to go back to it, if I'm not mistaken. Marta, we're on page 37. Thank you.
Mr. Liu, I want to be respectful to everybody's time, so if you could just try to get through as efficiently as possible.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we have here a number of the exterior material selections, starting with the stack stone. I put the manufacturer and the name of the color choice that we intend to use. The horizontal sidings, the vertical sidings. At the top of the home, we're going to put batten boards, and again, the color choices are all here. The roof choice, outside of asphalt shingles, we're going to put metal roofing over the awning in the front of the home. The windows and door selections, we're likely moving forward with MI windows, and then the front door and the garage door choices, along with exterior lightings. Marta, page 39, please. Those selections are all there. Existing view of the site, it's all from Maywood Avenue. So these were pictures that were taken during the demolition process. It's now completely raised. All debris have been hauled away. So it's completely vacant and empty as of today. Views of the neighbors, particularly Mr. Sullivan's property. That's a shed that's shared between the two of us. Number 5 on page 43. This one, I believe, is a view from Boyce Avenue, where it's looking into the backyard from the bottom of the sloped area, where we mentioned multiple times earlier today. Marta, if you don't mind, keep scrolling, please. Included, I also drove around the neighborhood and included pictures of neighboring homes. So there's homes of various sizes, various designs, various material choices. Marta, we're on page 45. Yep. So I think I included about a dozen homes here. Mostly, I believe that our design does not fall out of the norm for the neighborhood. Again, there's homes of different sizes, anywhere ranging from 2,000 to 4,000 square feet above grade, attached and detached garage, and again, material selections of all different choices. So the panel can and the audience can take a closer look into that, with the respective addresses on the bottom as well. So keep scrolling. So attached on page 55 is certification letter that I mailed out to all neighbors, surrounding neighbors, council members, and also I guess the newspaper articles along with the list. And those were all mailed out on October 22nd, along with a revised version a day or two later, indicating the correct start time. So that is I believe that is everything in the presentation. Yep, that's everything. So that's it from us. We'll open up for comments from the panel and respective audience members.
Super. Thank you very much, Mr. Liu and members of your team. Very thoughtful and complete presentation. So thank you.
Thank you.
So at this time, the floor will be open for any kind of public input or feedback from the community. So as a reminder, if you're representing a community group, you will have 5 minutes to speak. Those who do not represent a community group will have 2 minutes to speak. So Marta and Brett, has anybody signed up to speak on the project?
I don't have anyone.
Joe, we received questions from a citizen, which I shared with DRP members prior to the meeting, but for the record, I would like to read these questions, and if the DRP panel or the applicant can answer these questions.
Yes, please, Marta, go ahead and read.
So we received question from Mr. Michael Reel, and he's asking the following questions. We reviewed a drawing of the new home at the Roxton Riderwood office. This home was on a flat lot, but the Maywood lot is not flat. Is this drawing reflective of the final product?
I'll answer this question. So Marta was very well aware of our initial exterior rendering, which did not fit which did not fit the topography of the land. So I've since revised it. I do believe the community members may have received a outdated version of that exterior rendering, showcasing the lot size and the topography of the land.
So the next question, there was no drawing of the proposed retaining wall. Do you have any more details on how this will look?
So I answered this question during the community meeting prior to me submitting for DRP. The initial drawing on the design will be a concrete wall. However, we do plan to add designs. I don't know what it's called, but similar to the stack stones near the front of the home. We do plan to add that, especially facing the neighbors on the bottom of Boyce Avenue, as they will be staring at the wall, when they look up the hill. But the height of that wall is roughly about 5 feet at the highest area and as low as 2 feet in others. So we will put we will put some design stack stones or something of that nature on that wall, and more than likely on both sides, facing from the property and facing the property.
Okay, great.
I hope
Thank you,
answers
Mr.
the
Liu.
question.
I think that answers
Not a
both
problem.
questions. Marta, are there any other questions on this project from the community?
Not on my end, but let me check with Brad. Do we have any chat messages?
No chat messages.
Okay, thank you. So there are no any other speakers for this
Okay,
project.
thank you very much, Brett and Marta, for confirming. So at this point, because there's no speakers from the public at this point, we'll go ahead and close the public comment
Joe,
period.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Someone just put a question in the chat.
Okay, what's that question, Brett?
They're asking where will the water go? I'm guessing they're asking about drainage.
Yep, so could Mr. Liu or perhaps the civil engineer respond to that question?
Yeah, so we actually, well, Mike designed 3 dry wells for the property. He can definitely speak to more on that. Mike, are you able to pull up the section, or Marta,
I
do
got
you
it.
mind?
I'm looking at the plan on my end too. We do have 3 dry wells designed for stormwater management to attenuate this runoff from the roof area, which is the majority of the impervious area from the site. As with most projects, the runoff, the remaining runoff from the site will just generally drain to a southeasterly location route, which it does naturally today as well. So it basically, there's no change in the runoff pattern or the drainage pattern. It continues to go in a southeasterly direction as it does today.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Mike, for responding to that.
That should be it, Joe.
Okay, great. So this will officially close the public comment period. We'll go ahead and go to the panel members for discussion. So what we'll start with Mr. Can. Mr. Can, if you could come off of mute, it's your turn.
Yes, I guess the question was Fran Anderson.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Can. I oftentimes go to Mr. Anderson first, and I meant to do that. So let's go to Mr. Anderson. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Gee, Donald, you put me right back on the hook. Thanks a lot. No. So first of all, Mr. Liu, thanks for having everybody here on the call with us. It's always helpful to have all your consultants together, and that's helpful. I'm going to start I have a few site landscape questions, and I'll go to the house second. Just real quickly, I'm glad you guys clarified a little bit about the retaining wall, particularly on the finish and the rail. But the detail shows a 4-inch stone. You talked about something similar to the stack stone. What I really need you guys to do is kind of land on something and say it's going to be this, because at first I was thinking you were just going to have a concrete retaining wall, and that's not something we typically would like to see in a residential setting. So can you guys confirm for us? It doesn't have to be here tonight, but if you can confirm what that material will be, that would be really, really great. So that's first question. The second question I have is, the landscape plan kind of focuses on the front of the house, but there's no foundation planting or any other planting around the different sides of the house. And in particular, that is of concern, as you are looking at the house, the left side where the foundation, where the retaining wall is, as well as a little bit around the back and back to the sort of more exposed right side of the house. I don't know if you have any plans. Do you have plans for additional foundation plantings? Is there something you can add to that?
Ben?
I believe that may be a question for Stewart,
Okay.
but I think the Stewart, if you could chime in on that. Thank you.
Sure. We had the buffering, and I'm looking at the orientation of what I'm going to say right and left is based on the landscape plan that we're looking at here. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So on the left property line here, where we have the evergreen buffering, we want to certainly instill that for just privacy and views between each of the homes' activities outside. We can certainly add some additional plantings around the foundation of the house. I think one of the aspects that we were pausing on was the introduction of the rear deck off the back of the house,
Right.
and how to respond to that. So of course, if we had plants up against the back of the house to the left of the double door walkout, those, if we showed them there, they could potentially end up being under a deck, which would not be responsible. So we had made the decision to pause on that and just show the treatment on the perimeter of the property and on the front, exposure and curb appeal to neighbors along Maywood Avenue. But we do have intention to plant that as well, only insofar as what that rear deck becomes. On the right side, where the steep slope is, I really wouldn't want to introduce too much landscaping along there for maintenance purposes. It is a very steep slope. I think if nothing else, we would probably introduce something that would help to stabilize the ground surface by way of a ground cover.
Right.
But
yeah, I appreciate your answer, particularly on the rear. And for better or worse, we have to react to what's in front of us, right?
Yeah, sure.
If you never ever build a deck, then there's the rear elevation. Now, in this particular case, I'm a little less worried about the foundation of the back, simply because of the change in grade from the back of this home to the one below it on, I guess that's Boyce.
Right.
The ability of anyone to actually see the foundation back there, it's pretty limited, right? So I was more concerned about the side, particularly again, the garage side, if you will.
Right.
But it's also the perfect sort of entree into the discussion of the elevations. So I'll kind of leave the landscape discussion there, and if anybody else on the panel has concerns, they can come back to it. But I would like to talk about the elevations. And unfortunately, the renderings create more questions because they are in conflict with the actual architectural drawings. To be fair, you might have been better off leaving some of the renderings out. So if you go to the front elevation, Marta, in particular, if you go to the rendering first, the colored rendering, I'll show you where some of the conflicts exist. Okay, right, the front elevation. The architectural plan shows, or the rendering shows the board and batten coming all the way down to the porch level and being painted, or being the color of the darker color. The architectural drawings, which I prefer, show the siding coming across, the horizontal siding coming across under the deck and under the even at the second floor. So if you look at the elevation on the architectural. So first and foremost, I need you to confirm which is correct. And that would go a long way to answering my comment if it's the rendering. So do you see the conflict?
Yeah, we will ultimately move forward with the architectural design based on what Tanya drew instead of the rendering. So,
Great, because that's way better than the rendering.
yeah, it's just to show color and
right,
that's it.
Right, I understand. And drawing coordination is a challenge for everybody. So I'm not throwing any stones at anybody, but when we have conflicts, we have to correct them, right? So if it turns out that we need you to resubmit these, you either got to correct the rendering or take it out or do something different, because you can't, when you're building it, if you go back to an approved rendering, which takes precedent, right? Well, from my perspective, the architectural drawing does, but I don't want to give anybody any thought that the rendering might be acceptable if they're different.
Absolutely.
So that's number one. If now we can go to the left elevation, which I call left side, and the architectural calls left side as well, right? It's go back up a little. There you go. Thank you, Marta. I 100% agree that the problem with this elevation is the windows, and it's, we do try to stay out of the interior of the house. What you do in the interior is your thing, but it is still the exterior, and it still translates through. It's the number of sizes, the differing sizes, and the spacing that makes this really, really, quite frankly, busy and really unattractive from my perspective. Now, I've got a couple of questions for you to maybe help a little bit. Your elevation shows windows on what I believe are the landings at both the landing between the first and second floor and the landing between the first floor and the basement, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The architectural plan doesn't really show the windows on the landing to the basement. I'm not sure if you have to have those, don't want those, but it would be something that would help clean up the elevation if you went through by the architectural plan versus if you look at the architectural floor plan we don't need to go there, but it doesn't actually show that double window right there, which is a unique size and kind of unique situation. That would be one way to clean it up. I'm not going to tell you what to do on the interior to clean it up, but I really feel like you got to do something here to address the window spacing and the sizings. The other thing I'm going to say is, because there are not going to be any foundation plantings here, I am glad that the retaining wall will have stone on it, but one of the other things that I thought would probably improve this elevation greatly would be if you were to extend the stone around the elevation, or I'm sorry, the foundation stone around this side of the house. You've got a really, really exposed elevation here. It's tall and kind of featureless with all these windows. I don't know that the stone may, in fact, actually improve the elevation enough to sort of overlook the window issue. That would be my suggestion. Others on the panel can chime in as they may want to or not. So that's a comment on this elevation. The rear elevation, you answered the question about the deck. The only other thing I'm going to say on the rear elevation, because it is so, you are bringing the back of the house further into the lot, closer to the houses on Carrollton. It will be more exposed. This is the one elevation where you do not have an attic window. You have an attic window on the front, you have an attic window on the side that we just left, but you don't have one here. I'm not suggesting you should definitely put an attic window here with the shutters as you have shown, but on the others, but it might dress up this elevation a little bit also. I don't have any real problems with the window spacing on this elevation. It's a lot more organized, and that's okay. Let me see. What else do I have here? So we answered the colors, the materials, the windows, the elevation, retaining wall. You answered that question, and landscaping. Blah, 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 blah. I think those are all my comments. So I'll now hand it off to whoever is next. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Mr. Anderson. So now let's go to Mr. Can.
Thank you, and thank you, Fran, for all the things I was thinking as well, because I think they were right on. If you can go back to the front elevation, I have a couple more things to add to that. Once again, I mean, I think that the architectural plans are clearly much more successful than the renderings. You're showing shutters on some windows and not on others. Based on the way this is all headed, I would suggest that you really don't need shutters on any windows, particularly ones that don't equate to the width of the windows appropriately. So I would look at that as a possible change in these elevations. And then the only other thing I would add is that on the retaining wall, I think the finish of that wall is important, obviously, but also the railing and the detailing of that railing on top of the wall and how that's done, I think is important to resolve as well. You're just mentioning, an iron a guardrail, but I think looking at how that actually appears is something that should be more carefully studied. Um, and absolutely agree with the window placement on that one elevation. I think it really is distracting the way it's evolved, and I think you really have to study that more carefully. But I'm limiting my thoughts because I think that what Mr. Anderson provided was really very much in line with what I was prepared to say. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Can. Let's go to Mr. Sala.
You hear me okay?
Yes, hear you fine.
Okay. I just want to say thank you for the thoughtful presentation. Also, kind of having everybody here from the team is really helpful. So thank you for that. I sort of agree with my colleagues' comments, both to the composition of the side elevation, the window patterning, the lack of alignment between the floors, the different sizing of them. That single window on the side elevation with the shutter up in the attic space, why put it there? Remove the shutters. They're really not doing anything for you. If we're able to extend the stone on that basement wall, that would be great. I think obviously that side of the house is still very visible. I think that's going to really help anchor the house into the site. It's a big house, even though there are similar sizes in the neighborhood. That street really doesn't have that size house. It'll be quite a large addition to that particular part of the street. The railing on top of the retaining wall I noticed was 36 inches tall, but per building code, I think that probably needs to be a bit taller, up to 42 inches, especially in the area where it's more than 18 inches in elevation difference. If I'm correct there per building code. So I would like for you to just confirm that. If you look at the renderings, are those the colors of the side? What's that darker color of the board and batten? Is that black on the renderings? I don't know if the rendering is accurate in terms of the colors, but I kind of find that color a bit outside of the some of the colors and finishes we see in the neighborhood. It's a nice it's a nice play between the warmth of the wood and the white. I like it as a kind of as a concept, but I feel like it does look a little bit different or strange for that neighborhood. So my recommendation is just to kind of study that, make sure that the color does blend in to what's happening in the neighborhood. Those are my comments. Actually, one more thing. Yes, I do agree that the architectural elevations look a little bit better with continuing the horizontal siding onto the left-hand side of that front elevation. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sala. So we have a couple more panel members to get to, but I do want to make a statement that there are a lot of comments being presented by the panel members. Just a reminder that it is our job to summarize specifically what we are requesting in the form of a motion, right? So just we should be thinking about exactly what that's going to look like and sound like because we have to provide clear direction to the applicant. Okay, let's go to Mr. Sharma.
All right. So much has been said. I don't have any additional comments. One reiterate about the windows, which already said. So besides that, I don't have any comment. I did miss one thing on page number 17. I would like to see again, if you could please. Probably not. I think I said wrong page number. So that's okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sharma. Let's go to Ms. Sauce.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for the thoughtful presentation. I think a lot has been said by my panel members that I agree on. But while we have this sheet up, Mr. Stewart, when he described the landscape plan, was very thoughtful in the preservation of the existing elm and the placing the dry stack wall where an existing wall was. But then I was trying to find the page number. If you scroll down to the site plan and engineering, there's a stockpile that goes back further into the contours than the tree protection fence. So just maybe a clarification. Yes, that plan right there, that small plan, up one. Yes, that one right there. If you look at that gray area, it's called out as a stockpile area. And also the LOD extends to that that power line pole, which would negate. I guess it's a little confusing or hard to see. I see a little line going there, but on some of the other plans, it looks like the LOD is going to take out that tree, which is to be preserved. So I think just some continuity
Yes.
and coordination between all the plans would be helpful. So is that entire area going to be a stockpile area? Because that would really
No, it can't be.
hinder the roots.
That's good catch, Troy. No, that can't happen. That line, that protection line has to go between the house and that grade area. That can't be a stockpile area. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my only comment in
Yes.
addition to what my colleagues have already
Sure.
said.
Okay. Yeah. Mike and I can coordinate that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Sauce. Let's go to Mr. Kurjakar as the final panel member here.
Thank you very much for a great presentation. I think it was very clear. I do agree with the site comments that were presented by Mr. Anderson. And I think the idea for stabilizing the slope, the steep slope on the side of the building, which is not currently shown, would be a good measure to stabilize that slope, as Mr. Stewart Ortel clarified. So that is my only comment, but other than that, I have no more comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kurjakar. Okay, I'm looking at a chat from Mr. Walters. So, Mr. Walters, I think you were a few minutes late. I didn't catch you on the introduction, but if you're out there, you can unmute. It's your turn.
Thank you. Yeah, apologies for being late. Just a few quick comments. If you could go back to the front, I think it's the right side elevation. Sorry, one more page up. Must be the left. So if you choose, we've talked a lot about the stone base and whether it turns the corner and covers the concrete foundation walls. Whether you choose to or not, if you look at how the stone meets where the concrete wall is right at that intersection, you can start to see that there elevationally it misses. And I think there's just a few details like that where the stone is higher than the concrete where it turns the corner. Similar to the windows, there's just a few, I think, minor refinements that could be made that could really help the exterior design. And I agree with my colleagues that, I think the stone should be applied to the retaining wall and an elevation or a detail of the railing, which goes on top, should be provided as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Walters. And I'll round this out by saying the pleasure of going last is many of your comments are captured in the previous conversation. So I have no additional comments or questions at this point. So once again, our job as the panel is to make a motion. We have three options. We can approve it as is. We can approve the project with conditions, meaning the applicant would not have to come back before another public design review panel. Or we can say that there's so many comments and deficiencies that the applicant is required to come back for a second meeting. So three options. If there's any more discussion, I'm happy to hear, but I would ask somebody to think about the comments and try to make a motion. And if Mr. Anderson is willing and able, you could go ahead and take a shot.
Yeah, I think I can take a shot at the list. I just would ask everybody, I think I'm going to make a motion that we approve it with comments. But if others are not in favor of the motion, please, we might have some discussion as to whether we want to have it returned or to us for another round, or we want to approve it with comments that would be returned solely to planning. So I'm going to start there.
Well,
think about
Mr. Anderson, what I can offer is that if we approve it with conditions, one of the conditions can be an administrative review by myself that the conditions have been addressed in the form of revised plans. We can say Department of Planning, but we can say administrative review by the panel. So that's an option as well.
Thanks, Joe. I think that's a really nice sort of in between that I hope keeps the project moving and also addresses our concern. So there's a bit of a list here, so stay with me if I forgot something, but I am going to make a motion that we approve the project with the following conditions, including the return of the drawings for administrative review by the panel chair. Starting with the drawings, I'm sorry, that the applicant will correct conflicts between drawings, in particular the renderings and the architectural and the site and the other landscape drawings as relates to stockpile areas. In addition, that they will confirm the retaining wall finish and railing detail, that landscaping changes would include right side foundation landscaping and left side stabilization. That the left side elevation undergo a window study to clean up the window placement sizing. That the left side elevation also include the extension of the stack stone at the foundation wall to the rear corner of the building, and probably forgetting something. I don't think so. That's the end of the motion.
That motion was clear to me. I'll ask to my fellow panel members, were there any comments or conditions that were perhaps omitted?
This is Donald Cant. We did mention foundation plantings, and we did mention shutters. And if that's captured in Mr. Anderson's concept, then of course I'm fine.
Yeah, I can make a suggestion, Joe, that the window study extend beyond the left elevation to include a study of the shutters on the front elevation as well. Does that answer, Mr.
That makes sense to me.
Absolutely. Yes.
So there's a motion on the table. I'm going to ask Brett and Marta and Sean from the Department of Planning standpoint, is that motion clear and concise?
This is clear to me, Joe. Thank you. And Brett, how about you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
So there's a motion on the table. Is there a second behind the motion?
I second the motion.
That was Mr. Sala. Thank you very much, Mr. Sala. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed to the motion? Okay, the motion carries. So thank you very much to the team. Congratulations, and you'll see a conditional approval letter from the Department of Planning here real soon. All
Thank
right.
you very much, guys.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
We'll move now to item number 2, which is, again, 121 Back River Neck Road, the Gigglebox Learn and Play in the Essex Commercial Review Area. And a reminder that this is a resubmittal. So if the presenter could please introduce yourself. I would like to make a comment that through the presentation, and a reminder that the panel has already seen the bulk of the presentation before, please be specific on how you addressed the conditions from the last DRP meeting. So presenter, please introduce yourself. The floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Chris Burns. I'm with Richardson Engineering. I'm here to present the Gigglebox Learn and Play, the daycare. Like you said, it was in the hearing last month. Regarding the comments from last month, we removed the parking space next to the dumpster. We've added, I believe it's 2 or 3 windows to the overall total of the windows of the building. Each room has a minimum of 2 windows, except for one classroom, which has 1, which is due to the plenum wall for the HVAC. The renders have been revised and match the site plan, the building elevations, and the floor plan. The ramp out front is surrounded by a planter that is also shown on the renders. The landscaping, we have added some plants, basically extending the landscaping that is just what the landscaping that abuts the parking area that is between the stormwater management facility in the front and the parking area. We extended that landscaping all the way over to the planter for the handicap ramp to kind of act as a barrier. We are unable to add more plantings around the stormwater management facilities due to regulations of prohibiting wooded vegetation within 25 feet of the risers, the stormwater, the overflow riser, I guess is a better term to use it. There's been some additional landscaping added along Back River Neck Road as well. So that's regarding the comments. Like you said, you guys saw the project last week or last month. It's with the exception of the things I just mentioned, it is, you know, the floor plan as well is updated to show correctly and match site plan, renders, and elevations. One more thing, one of the signs on the building has been removed. There are 2 signs now on the building. One will be on the Howard side, the other one will be on the Back River Neck side. And the standalone sign out front on Back River Neck Road will remain as it was last month. And should I go through anything else with the project, or is that it?
I think, Mr. Burns, if you've hit on all of the conditions in the form of presentation and revised plans, I think that'll do it. And unless you have anything else to add.
No, just trying to get this approved so we can keep moving it forward. The client's current space, her lease is coming up to an end. She's actually right across the street in the shopping center. So
Okay.
we're trying to, make this happen as quickly as possible for her.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Burns. Okay, so at this time, the floor will be open for any kind of public input or feedback from the community. Reminder that if you're representing a community group, you'll have 5 minutes. Those who do not, you'll get 2 minutes. So Marta, Brett, Sean, has anybody signed up from the community to speak?
I don't have anybody in the chat, Joe.
Okay.
And Joe, we received questions from one of the neighbors. I would like to read them for the record.
Yes, please. Go ahead, Marta.
So these questions are from Mr. Thomas Jones. There are 2 questions. Question 1, will there be some form of visual screen, for example, shrubbery, privacy fence, between the parking lot and the property at 1605 Howard Avenue? And the second question, with the possibility of 75 vehicles arriving to pick up or drop off their child, should there be a separate entrance and exit to make for a better flow of traffic? The nearby businesses that are on Back River Neck Road and also share a residential street similar to Howard Avenue have an access point on both streets. I'm concerned how this project will affect not only our traffic on Howard Avenue, but also my property value.
Okay, thank you, Marta. I think before we get to the panel discussion, I'd like to give Mr. Burns an opportunity to respond to those questions. So, Mr. Burns, would you like to respond to those questions?
Sure. Currently, there is not a privacy fence shown between the parking and the neighboring property. That could be added if necessary. There is landscaping to work as screening. Looks like there's 3 large trees back there and another medium-sized tree that will screen the dumpster. In terms of another entrance being added, that the site just couldn't facilitate that. We're at the limits effectively of what we've got here. So that's unfortunately not really feasible. I believe there was a third question.
Yeah, there was a question as it relates to 75 vehicles dropping off and picking up children. So do you want to speak to that?
I think it'll be like any other daycare. Parents will be arriving at different times to do this. It's not going to be a dismissal like you have with a public school or any type of school where all the children are let out at once. So, that's what I would say. That would be my response for that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Burns.
Mhm.
Are there anybody else, Marta or Brett, signed up to speak, or was that the only comment?
I don't have anyone else registered to speak.
Okay.
Sean, Brett, do we have anyone else? No.
No.
Okay, great. Thank you. So this will officially close the public comment period. So what we'll do now, because this is a commercial project, there would be a Department of Planning staff report. So Marta, would you please just share the staff report and go ahead and hit the highlights?
Sure. So basically, We prepared our staff report based on comprehensive manual development policies, Baltimore County Master Plan 2030, Baltimore County Baltimore County Landscape Manual, Eastern Baltimore County Pedestrian and Bicycle Access Plan, Eastern Baltimore County Revitalization Study, Community Conservation Plan for Essex Middle River and Essex Design Guidelines. And staff recommends approval for the site design, form and image, street parking and circulation, signage and lighting, architectural design, subject to any recommendation by the design review panel. We just have one comments regarding open space and landscape design. Please clarify if additional landscaping will be provided in the roof drainage areas around the proposed building. It is shown in the 3D drawings, but not labeled on the plan. And this concludes our staff report.
Great. Thank you, Marta, for reading the staff report. At this time, we'll go ahead and turn it over to the panel members for comment. So we'll go ahead, let me get my list here and go in reverse order. Let's start with Mr. Walters.
Thanks, Joe. I don't have any comments. The applicant addressed the previous comments from the panel from my perspective.
Okay. Appreciate that. Mr. Kurjakar. You know what? I think I heard he had to leave.
Left,
so,
yes.
Yep. Let's go to, let's see here, Ms. Sauce.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation again. I concur. I believe all the previous comments have been addressed, so I have no additional comments.
Great, thank you. Mr. Sharma?
I don't have any comments. Besides, I wasn't in the meeting last time, so no comments. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sala?
No, I wanted just to thank the gentleman who presented. I'm sorry, missed the name, but I appreciate you.
Mr. Burns.
Mr. Burns, yes, I appreciate you going back and addressing all of our concerns from our last presentation. I don't have any additional comments except maybe the question that came up around adding an additional fence between this property and the adjacent one. I think that's something important that maybe we need to address.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sala. Let's go to Mr. Can.
Yes, I don't have any additional comments.
Okay. Let's see. And that's it. So I don't have any additional comments either. So it is now time for a motion. And as a reminder, we can approve the project as is. We could approve it with conditions. We could condition it upon comments. We can condition it upon staff report, or we can ask the applicant to come back for another meeting, but this is already another meeting, so I would steer away from that third option. So would somebody like to make a motion at this point?
I'd like to make a motion to approve with a condition, with one condition. That would be again to address the screening comment between this property and the adjacent property. I didn't write the address down from that comment. Joe, if you have that address, I would appreciate you pulling that up.
Marta, can you pull up the questions from the adjacent community member, please? 1605 Howard Avenue.
1605 Howard Avenue.
Okay, Mr. Sal, can
motion.
you just repeat the motion?
I propose a motion to approve with a condition of adding screening elements between this property and the adjacent 1605 Howard Street property. Howard Avenue, I'm sorry.
So just a comment there, Marta, could you go back to the landscape plan? Thank you. There are proposed trees and shrubs shown on this plan. Mr. Sala, are you suggesting there should be this screening plus a fence, or would this satisfy the condition?
That would satisfy the condition. Is the property across the entire top of that north property line?
Yeah, I think it is. And Marta, could you just zoom in, please? It appears that there's a 6-foot fence that surrounds the children's play area. So I would think that the landscape
Opaque fence?
screening,
Okay.
yeah, I would
Okay.
think that the screening, landscape screening combined with the fence would satisfy
That's
the
appropriate.
condition.
Yep, I agree. Then the motion would change to just approve it.
Okay.
with no conditions.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay, thanks
Um,
for pointing that out. I apologize for missing that.
Yep. So there's a motion on the table to approve the project as submitted. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Can. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Burns, and congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have successfully navigated the couple agenda items on the docket for this evening. Who would like to make a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Can. Second?
Second.
Thanks, Ms. Sauce. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Don't think there's anybody opposed, so the motion carries. The meeting has been adjourned. Thank you very much. Hope everybody has a wonderful evening and happy holidays.
Thank you so
too.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Hi, Brett. Hi, Sean.
Hey.
Sorry,
Hey.
I didn't see you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, I had my internet kept cutting out, and I think I got to get some better internet. I think at when everybody's home in my house, they're all using my daughter's watching TV or
Just a second. I think I still recording the meeting. Just a second.
recording my internet problems.
Just a second. Just a second. Not sure.
I have the button on my end.
I
It is recording. I see it. Yeah.
Should I just hit the red button
Yeah.
and stop it?
Yeah. I see it, Brett. Can you do it? I see the timer going. It's in progress.
Okay. Am I supposed to save to the cloud or something like that? Marta?
Let's talk tomorrow.
Yeah, let's talk tomorrow. Yeah, you're right.
Let's talk tomorrow. Let's catch up tomorrow morning. Okay,
Sounds
because
great, guys. Yeah,
I'm not-
I see the timer's still going.